So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the newly revealed 2021 Ford Bronco. Now, before you think that this is just a hate on for Ford and a hate for the Bronco, this is not. I really like the Bronco. I actually really want the Bronco, but there's a few things that I want to see in the Bronco before I really want to buy one. So first off, I already have a daily driver that I really like. And I'm not about to change that. I'm not about to trade that in to have the Bronco to be my daily driver. Now, the reason why I have a few things that I hate about the Bronco is probably because of that. So number one, the Bronco for me would be just a fun vehicle that I would have where I could go off-roading and do some fun things. So coming from that perspective of already having a daily driver, there's a few things that I would want. So number one, for the daily driver and for the everyday person who just wants to have a little bit of off-roading, maybe a lot of off-roading, and a lot of fun, the Bronco is fantastic. But there's three things that I really dislike. Number one is the size of the engines. Sure, the four-cylinder is fine for the basic, for the entry level, that's great. Next is the twin-turbo V6. Now, that is a great combination, and that's a ton of power. Over 300 horsepower with close to 400, if not over 400 feet-pound of torque is a fantastic size and strength and power of an engine. That's great for off-roading. That's great if you want to do some rock crawling. That's enough torque to get you over rocks. That's enough torque to get you out of some issues. And that's enough power to be pulling things if you wanted to use it to pull things. However, I would love to have seen, and maybe there are rumors that they are going to be putting more power into these things later on in a few years, but I would have really liked to see the Coyote or the 5.0 in the Bronco. That would have been really good in my opinion, or really cool, because for one, the Mustang has it. I have a 2016 Mustang GT. That thing's a killer. That thing is fast. The Ford F-150 has it, and they say that the Bronco is built off of the F-150 or built from the F-150, so we all know that that should fit in. So why did they not add it? Maybe this is going to be a future feature, a future option, who knows, but that would have been really good to have. And personally, if I had the option between the three of them, I would have picked the 5.0. However, the power of the V6 is fine, and I would say yes, 100% that's mine, that's what I want. But there's the second issue, which is the manual transmission is not in the V6. It's not in the twin-turboed powered V6. You can only get that in the automatic transmission. And before you say, well, we haven't had definitive word from Ford, well, I do. They replied to my comment. And that is a huge mistake in my opinion. Now, there are very few manual transmissions that get sold. We know that. To get a Ford Mustang and a manual is ridiculously hard in North America. I don't know about where you are from, but in North America, it's actually kind of hard to get a manual used Mustang. It's obviously easy to buy one new. You would just basically order one. But to get a manual in North America is really hard. And for those people who are like me, who are not using it as a daily driver and who are just looking to have fun with it, personally, I find it more fun to drive a manual than an automatic, because let's face it, if we're going over rocks and if we're doing things and we're driving an automatic, you're just basically steering, knowing how to steer, knowing how to get out of that situation, using the throttle. That's it. There's no, hey, like, let's try this gear, let's do this. There's none of that problem solving. It's just gas, steer, gas, figure out how to steer out of this situation. That's it. It would have been a lot more fun if there was a manual in the more powerful engine. And then my third reason why, or my third dislike about this car is There's no stripped down model. So that's one thing that my dad, who's a bit older than me, has always said, man, I just wish they could just build a new stripped down model. Like, no technology, no nothing, just give me the vehicle, give me the engine, give me the manual transmission, that's it, that's all I want. I don't want anything fancy. And I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to the Bronco, something like a Bronco, that makes a ton of sense. They should have a stripped down model. No technology, no nothing. Give me just the engine, the vehicle, and the manual transmission. And there's a reason for this. For one, it would make the vehicle cheaper, and they would probably sell a ton because there's a lot of cheap people out there. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of cheap people out there. And that would be selling just because of that. However, the main reason why I'm saying this should be a thing is because when you're off-road, if you're buying a $40,000 in Canada, it's $40,000. In the States, it's $30,000. But in Canada, when you're spending $40,000 for a vehicle, do you think that that vehicle is going to be used off-road? No. The person who's actually going to be using that vehicle for what its full potential is going to be is either somebody who's super rich or doesn't care about their possessions, or the other option is to go and buy an old Bronco that's old and cheap and just kind of F around with it and see if it works out on the track, on the trail. But if you're spending $40,000 on a Bronco, that Bronco is not going to be used for its full potential for probably 20 years. And by then, there's going to be all new parts needing to be put into it. If you really wanted to have Ford, if you really wanted to have your Bronco out on the trails and showing off in those clubs that are actually going off-road, you would have had a stripped down, probably $20,000, $25,000 model that would have had the same features as the same suspension features, but without all the darn technology. I'm starting to sound like an old 60-year-old, but without all the darn technology, just a stripped down V6 or V8 manual, nothing else. You don't need a radio, you don't need anything. Just a stripped down, let's go screw around in the wilderness. Because then, if you bash it into a tree or flood it out, for one, super easy to pull the engine and throw another one in if you screw up the engine, but it'd be expensive, but it's simple. Not all this wiring harness stuff all over the place. Just a basic stripped down model would be super easy to screw with it, but also at $20,000, you're looking at a vehicle that if you spent the money to build up an older Bronco to actually take it off-road, you'd be probably spending around that much anyways. So at $20,000, if you bang it up against a tree, maybe a couple of bushes, a little bit of brush, get a couple of scrapes on it, a couple of dents, you're not caring all that much. But at $40,000 to $50,000, I think the top end model here in Canada is close to $60,000. That's not going into the bush anytime soon unless that person is super rich. Anyways, these are my dislikes. I really like the Bronco, however. I like the way it looks. I like everything about it other than those three things. Anyways, I will see you guys again next time.